Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Marie and on my channel we create Adobe Illustrator tutorials like illustrations, 3D simulations, and branding. Let's get started with today's 3D dice tutorial. Let's start by creating a square using the rectangle tool. Now that we have our square, we're going to select it, drag it while holding Alt to copy and Shift to keep aligned, and then Control D to repeat the last move. Now select all three and drag down while holding Alt plus Shift. Now we have 6 squares which we're going to use to create the 6 sides of our dice. So select the ellipse tool and create a circle which will be centered in our first square, and it represents the side number 1 of our dice. While I have the square and the circle selected, I'm going to align it to center. Then I'm going to select all the squares and change the fill color to red because I'm going to create the circles white and they'll be more visible on a red background. So the circle has a white stroke, at the moment a white fill, but I'm going to change it to a white and gray gradient here in the gradient tab, and then I'm going to use the gradient tool to angle this gradient. Once you're satisfied, click on the circle and hold Alt while dragging to make copies. So on the second square, I created the side number 2 of our dice. And now I'm going to create a rectangle. And then I'm going to select the rectangle and make a 90 angle copy and align it to the square just so I can align all the dots on the different squares so that they're positioned in at the same distance from the edges. Okay, so now we have our side number 2. To create side number 3, I'm going to select all 3 of these dots, copy while dragging, and then align them in an oblique line. To create number 4, I'm going to select the, let me just make sure that these are aligned. See, they're not. Okay, to create the side number 4, I'm going to select the 2 dots that are on square number 2 with the rectangles, which kind of like guidelines for me just to make sure that they're aligned. Always copy while dragging. Okay, and then I'm going to select just the 2 circles, go to reflect, vertical, copy. Perfect. Now I'm going to select these 4, drag while copy and add them to number 5, and drag while copy the center circle. For number 6, I'm going to select these 3, drag them, I'm going to align them. I'm going to select them again, drag while copy, and I can delete all the guidelines now. We have all 6 of our sides for the dice that we're going to create. Okay, so now we have all 6 sides that we need for our dice. As I was saying, I'm going to select all of them and drag them over to the side here for now. Then I'm going to select 1 square, make a dragged copy. I'm going to change the fill to gray and the stroke to nothing, and I'm going to use this as a base for our 3D simulation. So select the square, go to Effect, just a second, I needed to save this. Okay, so select the square, go to Effect, 3D, and then Extrude and Bevel. And here we have a 3D panel. Now here I'm going to insert 3.33 centimeters, which is the depth corresponds to the height and width of the square. And I'm going to change the bevel to classic. I'm gonna change the height. And even the, wait, let me try tall round. Okay, I'm gonna adjust the height and change the icon here to the right. And okay, I'm gonna select the square and change the angles, make them just slightly rounded so they correspond to the classic edge we just added to the front. And here is our cube with slightly rounded corners. Okay, so now that we have our cube, it's time to add the graphics, which are the dots that we prepared at the beginning of the tutorial. So select the cube, go to Appearance, Fill, and I'm going to change the fill color of the cube to a red, but you can change it to any color you want. And this is also why I created the dots white, because I was going to apply them to a red background. Now we're going to create 6 symbols, one for every side of our cube. So let's start with number 1. So I'm going to select the square, change the fill and stroke to nothing, select the square and the circle together, go to Symbols, create new. I'm going to name it 1, change it to graphic, and OK. Then select the cube, go to Appearance, double click on 3D panel so it opens, Map Art, go to Symbol, select 1, and it applies it to our first face here of the cube. Then I'm going to put Shade Geometry. And OK. So this is how you apply the graphics to the cube. And we're going to repeat this for every side. So we have to create a symbol with the remaining 5 here. So let's select all the squares, change them all to fill and stroke none, so you can't see them but they're there. Create new symbol, number 2, graphic, OK. Then I'm going to select number 3, create new symbol, I'm going to name it 3, change it to graphic, and OK. Select all parts of number 4, I'm going to name it 4, graphic, OK. And the same for number 5 here, which we're going to call 5. And last but not least, number 6. Select all the parts, create new symbol, name it 6, change it to graphic, and OK. Now we don't need these anymore. We could even delete them, but I'm just going to leave them there for now. They're out of our artboard anyways. So select the cube, go to Appearance, 3D here. And we're going to go to Map Art and add graphic to each one of the 6 faces. So let's find them, because here obviously it's showing the edges as well, because it divided all the parts of the cubes into parts where we can add the graphics. So here we have the face, which is next to 1. And here we can add the number 4 symbol. Okay, I wasn't sure, but yeah, I think I'm not mistaken. On the top we put number 5. So that way, starting from number 1 and following the sides going towards our right. We go 1, 2, 3, so 4 is the last one before the 1, then we have 5 and 6 down below. Perfect. Okay, now that I've added the symbols to each side of our cube, I'm going to click OK to close the 3D panel. Select the cube, drag while holding Alt to create a copy. And while I have this cube selected, I'm going to go to 3D through Appearance, and I'm going to move its position. And as soon as I'm satisfied, I'm going to click OK to close the 3D panel. And then I'm going to drag while holding Alt to create a third copy. And through the Appearance panel again, I'm going to open the 3D panel and play around with the position of this third cube until I am satisfied with the position. Let's see. Let's turn it all the way around. Perfect. Okay. So now I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to go back to the first cube, which is the bottom one. Let me position all the cubes where I want them to be. And then, as I said, I'm going to go back to the bottom cube, number 1. Select it. Click on the Appearance panel. Go to 3D panel. I'm going to slightly move it. Okay. And now I'm going to add a little bit of shadow under this cube so it looks like it's hitting the floor. So I'm going to use a rectangle tool. Select the rectangle tool. Create a square. I'm going to slightly round the angles. Change the fill color to black and stroke to none. And let me fix the rounded angles. I'm going to position it, and then from here distort it just by using the selection tool for now. And then I'm just going to use the direct selection tool to select the angles that I want to move. I probably should not have rounded the angles before I started. I should have done this at the end. But it doesn't matter because once I position this black rectangle, okay, slightly fix these angles. By using the direct selection tool. Okay, so once I've positioned this distorted square, I'm going to, if you make a mistake and you want to go back, just click Control Z, and Adobe Illustrator will annul your last move. If you click it multiple times, the more you click it, the more moves it will annul. Anyway, so once you've positioned it, you select it, go to Effect, Gaussian Blur. Okay, then when you're satisfied, click OK. And then I'm going to go to the Gradient panel and add a black to white gradient, which once I set Once I'm happy with the settings, then I'm going to use the gradient tool to adjust the position of the gradient. Okay, so now it's pretty much finished. I'm going to add one last thing, which is the background. So I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to select the rectangle tool with just a plain white for now. The rectangle tool is going to cover the whole artboard. Then I'm going to right click, arrange, send to back. I'm going to go back to the gradient panel, add a gray to white circular gradient. Okay, so it starts from a center white and goes out to a light gray. Let me adjust the gray here, make it lighter. Okay, and then I'm going to select this shadow, go to transparency, change the blending mode to multiply, and here are our 3D dice created in Adobe Illustrator. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing to my channel for future videos.